And we are now live. Emma, thank you for joining me today.
Having me. I'm excited to do this.
Excited or nervous?
Both.
Don't
¿Por qué
worry,
no
like I
los
said,
dos? Both.
you'll be fine, honestly. So for those who not don't necessarily know who you are, tell sort of them about your background and sort of why you're into jiu-jitsu and psychology and nutrition and how that kind of all came together.
Oh gosh. Like in a nutshell, or do you want me to like give a more
Yeah, go
detailed?
go crazy as much as you
Uh,
want.
well, I know a lot of people ask I'm Nicaraguan and Slovak because that's going to come up at some point. A lot of people always ask what my heritage is. I Gosh, I don't even know where to begin. I basically got into jujitsu. The short answer is my sister and two of my brothers were amateur fighters. I had just gotten out of a bad relationship, was like, I just want to lose some weight, have some fun, whatever. Started kickboxing and did that for a few years. I trained with my sister all the time. I never actually got in the ring or cage myself, but I trained with her for her fights. It was, really cool bonding experience. All that stuff. And eventually I started working for one of the gyms she fought out of and was like, you know what, I'm going to give jujitsu a shot. I did. I bought a gi, never looked back, and never did stand up again. um, and it was just, I got into nutrition because, I've always been in good shape, always been an athletic person, played soccer, all the sports when I was younger, into high school, but I quit when I was, I think, a sophomore. And I just really, wanted to get back into that, uh, I guess that like that athletic life that I used to have. And I just started focusing on nutrition and how that helped my body. I wanted to look good, feel good kind of thing, but without doing anything crazy. I wanted it to be natural, all that stuff. And I just started studying nutrition on my own, was into, the stand-up fighting, and then eventually started competing myself when I started doing jujitsu and, weight cuts and all that stuff. Like maintaining your weight is really important. So that deepened my interests quite a bit. Just learning what works for your body, food wise was really important for maintaining a healthy body for jujitsu and all those things. And then eventually down the road, I decided to go back to school for psychology. And I was like, why not study nutrition? I get, an Instagram message from the Life University women's wrestling head coach, why don't you come down and meet us? And, she told me they were top 20 in the US for nutrition. I was like, are you just going to sit here and put all my dreams on a silver platter?
Yeah.
And I started wrestling and studying nutrition at Life University. And, it's I guess in a nutshell is how I got into it. But it's a really cool shift. I never would have guessed that I would be a 30-year-old wrestler in college studying nutrition and psychology, but I'm really glad I am. So, yeah. I'm sorry, I'm still nervous.
It's all right. That's honestly like pretty much got all the information out there that was relevant and needed, which is always great.
Cool.
So what? How long have you been doing sort of wrestling and jiu-jitsu for in total, in the sense of years, months, days, weeks?
So I first got on the mats, I want to say almost 5 years ago. At the end of this year, it'll be 5 years. And I haven't been training for that full time. So I started, uh, competed as a white belt. I got my blue belt in like 9 months. And then like a year later, like I'm still competing, but I just like had so many injuries. At blue belt, I probably took almost like a year off here and there for injuries and whatnot. Then I left that gym, maybe not a full year, like 6 months. And then I left that gym. Wasn't, like the right place for me. And I kind of quit jujitsu for a minute for another like 9 months or so, and then got back into it at a different gym. Was still planning on competing, but at that point I was like, not really sure I was going to compete as much, and that didn't last long. I was like, screw that, I'm competing. And I left that gym and found because it it just wasn't the right place for me competitively. It just didn't fit uh, what I was looking for as a school, and found my coach now. So I've been like on and off training for about 4+ years, but I've taken I want to say at least 2 years off, because when I found that coach, I was with him from January of last year through the summer, and then I started wrestling last year in the fall quarter for Life University in October. So I quit that summer, like moved. You just can't do jujitsu at the same time as being a collegiate wrestler. Like, even if you had the time, which you definitely don't, like, your body's already torn up. Coaches don't want you doing that. So I started I did wrestling for the whole school year, and then COVID happened, and I just got back on the mats again about a month ago. So short answer, 4.5 years. Long answer, few years off of that.
So
Just in case anyone wants to call me a sandbagger.
So how long would you recommend, like, say, someone waits before they compete for the first time?
Honestly, I'd say that's a personal thing. I don't think that you necessarily need to wait. If you start and you want to go and compete, go for it. I mean, I don't recommend doing it 2 weeks after you start. Maybe like give yourself a couple months, unless you have some kind of grappling background or competition background in combat sports. Maybe do it a little bit sooner. But I mean, I think it's a personal choice. I personally wanted to wait at least a few months because my sister, as I said, was an amateur fighter, and she took like 2 classes and was like, I'm going to do the Atlanta Open. And she went and got second or third place. And I was like, if I don't get anything, if I don't get gold, like, this is going to be such a big deal. If I train, actually like spend time on this, like this sport, this art, and I don't win and do better than my sister who only took a couple of classes, like, I will never hear the end of it. So it was my goal to go out and just win. So I waited, I want to say like 6 months or so. But yeah, and I did go. I won. Don't worry.
No, that's good. I mean, after
It's
6
easy
months
to
to
though.
go and smash it, it's a quality thing. I mean, I've been going 6 months. Obviously, COVID's come in and stuff like that, which is a pain in the backside.
Yeah.
But I still don't feel like I'm anywhere near competing. I'm shit.
That's totally fair though. Like, one of the biggest things that I think is I think something that makes such a huge difference in the way you compete, the way you train for competing, is your mindset. Like, if your mind is not there, don't go and do it, because you're not going to step on those mats with the right headspace, and you're not going to perform to the best of your capabilities. So if you're not there mentally, like, don't push yourself, wait until the time's right. Like, that's why I said it's a personal choice. Like, some people are like, I'm ready for this, and they just, hit the ground running with competing. And some people are like, nah, I'm good. I'm chilling. I'm going to take my time. And, every journey is different. So
Yeah, I mean,
do what suits you.
But
Mhm.
I just don't think I'm good. I'm like, I want to compete and I want to win, but I don't want to.
Yeah. That's fair. That's fair. And I mean, no one wants to lose. But I do also recommend, if you do want to like compete, don't wait too long. Don't let that hold you back, because you're also going to change the way you train after you compete the first time. Like, you're going to go out and have it, like a totally live match, and be like, oh, okay. Okay, I get it now. Or you don't really get it because, you're still a white belt, but like, you start to, like, things click. But yeah, it is really good for you. Even if you lose, you learn a lot. So don't wait like 5 years to compete, is what I'm saying. Like, take your time, but not too long.
Yeah, I just don't want to lose. That's my problem. I'm very competitive. Like, if I had kids, they wouldn't be beating me at anything. I can't handle it. I'm not a good loser either. It's not.
Fair enough. I hate losing too, and I have not had a good run as a blue belt. I won everything at white belt, which is, whatever, it's white belt. But like, blue belt came, like, won a few things here and there, but I've lost a few things that I'm not very happy about. So it definitely gets under your skin. And sometimes it can be hard to come out like back after a loss, but like that's when you just like pick yourself up by the bootstraps and like that's just part of the, what you go through. You gotta lose. So that's one of the cool things about jujitsu. You're not gonna win everything.
True, very true. It's such a and it's such fine margins. The littlest mistake, and you know about it
Yes.
very quickly. You're like, oh shit.
Mhm. No, that's so true. Especially like the more and more you get into it, the littlest things will cost you. It's yeah. Mm.
What do you do for like competition prep for yourself? So if you're gonna go and compete, how
Uh,
do you kind of get ready for that?
I don't have like one set thing. It's kind of always evolving. I'm one of those people. I feel like you should always be learning and always analyzing. How your body, your mind react to the things that you're doing. For me, in the past, I'm trying to change this a little. I'm trying to. I used to run a lot, and right now, my athletic trainer told me to run a little bit less over the summer. She was like, you should be bulking before wrestling season starts. You're going to be losing a lot of weight. You're going to be losing some muscle because we're cutting every single week. I sweat a lot, so it's easy, but still, you burn a lot of muscle still. Um, but running was something like it's like that weird mindset. Like if I'm not doing certain things, like I feel like I'm not prepped, even if I am there physically. I like to clean up my diet a lot. No drinking at all. We drink for wrestling, but in jiu-jitsu, I'm 30 years old, so the summer is a fun time to party, but like if I'm prepping for a competition, I really shouldn't be drinking. My diet needs to be cleaned up, nothing, no crazy sugar, no carbs. And I used to run every single day at least like 3 to 4 miles, and that to me is something that I am going to try and change, at least for jujitsu. Wrestling, we still have to keep, we have to cut weight, so we're not really supposed to cut weight, but you cut weight for wrestling. So I will have to run for that, but jujitsu, you get to choose what weight class you go into. I can keep my walking weight uh, at a really reasonable place, and I would honestly like to just compete at my walking weight. But wrestling, it's a whole different dynamic. Your coaches are like, you're wrestling at 43. Okay, bye, thanks. So I don't really have much leeway there. Uh, but other than that, sleep is really important. I'm trying to incorporate more yoga into my prep, keep your body just well rested, well recovered, loose, all the things. If you're not taking care of your body, you're not going to train as nearly as well, in my opinion, at least for me, and you're not going to compete as well. So a lot of it is about prepping my mindset too. I'm trying to really set my mindset before I step on the practice mats. So that way, when I step on the competition mats, there's, um, I've already been there throughout the months leading up. So does that is that a good answer?
No, yeah, no, that covers it very well because obviously, like you said, you've got to get your mind ready and your body ready, and then
Mhm.
you've got to make the weight. If you're wrestling, jiu-jitsu, you don't have to worry about that so much, and it's kind of there's loads of different variables there because if you're going to compete in jiu-jitsu, well, your setup's going to be very much different to competing at wrestling because you've got to make that weight, and also different. They're different sports to an extent. You're going to have to
Yeah.
prepare mentally differently, with a different attitude. And so yeah, no, it makes sense. Like you said, no days, no real competition is the same for you because obviously it differs every time, as well as
Exactly.
other things in life, right? Friendship groups and stuff like
Yeah.
that. They can make a difference.
Hmm. Very true. Yeah, they're different sports though, really. It's so wild. Like they were so similar but so different. But yeah, every competition, I feel like I'm prepping a little bit differently, just because like always learning, always changing. And like as a grappler, I'm still basically a noob. Like 4 years, 4+ years really isn't that much. So I feel like I'm always trying to learn how to do things better. If that makes sense. And one of the things I love about wrestling is I've learned a lot about competition, competing, mindset, all the things, and I'm trying to apply that to my jujitsu. One of the reasons why I got into wrestling was like I know mindset is everything, and like it was just such a like I knew it would be such a challenge for me. Um, but I knew it would just teach me so much about like the grit every single day, the grind. Like you have no choice. You do this. You compete just about every single week during season if you're unless you're injured. Um, and then just like the actual practices, wrestling practices are wildly different from a jiu-jitsu practice. Like at my school at Bruno Frazado's, the pace is fantastic, but there's still practices are at least 2 hours for wrestling, and it's basically, even when you're drilling, it's live drilling the entire time. It's just go 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 go, and you're very rarely on the ground. For women, we do freestyle, so you're just always in stance standing unless someone's taken you down or you've taken somebody else down. So I knew that would be a really good experience for me to take into jiu-jitsu and just kind of evolve how I train, compete, everything. So I'm still learning. I've only had one season of wrestling. I'm excited to go into this next season with what I've learned from last season, and see what else, like what else I'll learn, how I can progress from there, and all the things.
How did you get the nickname? That's it's been bothering me a little bit. I'm trying to work it out.
So that actually started off as a joke. And like, so what's funny is it kind of just worked. It just fit, especially like when I was at my first gym, I inverted all the time, would just always be on my shoulders and whatnot, just rolling in a ball. I'm like, honestly, really for no other purpose other than I was trying to evade stuff. But I was, really terrible at turning my inversions into something worthwhile. But so in a nutshell, this is going to sound really silly. I'm on Facebook, and one of my friends is a server, and servers always have funny stories or rants that they're going to relate on Facebook. And this one time, he's just like, this grown man came into the restaurant and asked me with a straight face to call him Thug Panda. And so he's basically just on Facebook like, why would any grown man want to be referred to as Thug Panda? No, I will not call you Thug Panda. And I commented on there. I was like, what if I want to be called Thug Panda? And he was like, I already thought you were Thug Panda. Why is this even a question, Thug Panda? So that ended there. And maybe a week or two later, I'm sitting down with one of my buddies, Quentin. He's my instructor at that gym, and he's a good buddy of mine. And, we're just chilling. And he's like, when you start fighting, I think that you should put your fight name on the back of your t-shirt on the bottom with a hashtag, or maybe something like hashtag hug life or hashtag thug life. And I'm just like, what about hashtag Thug Panda? And he was like, that's it right there. And then I tell another one of my friends that, and he ends up having Thug Panda embroidered on a gi like that week. So I was basically like, okay, I guess this is a thing now. And ever since then, everybody calls me Thug Panda or Panda. One of my friends calls me Thug, which I find hilarious because I'm not thuggy in the least. But it's yeah.
See, with like your hood up and that, just like.
Yeah.
It's a mixtape, and you're like, no, that's not me.
Yeah, exactly. No, but I've got a panda tattoo on my ankle now, the actual inverted panda logo. So, yeah, it's kind of a done deal at this point. But what's funny is a lot of people don't know that story, and a lot of times, like even people from back at like when it first happened, are like, she's just the panda. Like it just works. Have you seen her roll? She rolls like a panda, and so it kind of just was perfect fate.
So how did you end up meeting Eddie as well? Obviously, did you go to 10th Planet?
Yeah, last year at Worlds, I try to get out there for Worlds every year. I have since I started. I've only competed twice at Worlds. I was hoping to do that this summer, but yeah, no, I just went out there. I have a friend that I just met online, and he and I just had really great conversations on Facebook and Instagram, and he trained sober at 10th Planet, and I was going up there for Worlds, and he was like, you need to come train with me, and just it's like, yeah, why not? And go and train in no gi right before a gi tournament makes sense. But yeah, whirled up and had a great class. a lot of good roles in there, and was honestly super excited to meet Eddie. And as you can see in that picture, I've got my total dork. I'm like cheesing so hard. It was really cool. But I haven't been back since, so that kind of stinks. But it is what it is. COVID ruined that. Huh?
You're planning to this year or next year, or what's the kind of goal?
I'm going to try to. The hard thing is I'm essentially a broke college kid now at 30 years old, which stinks. So I'm trying to save up as much as possible, and I'm gonna try and work during this upcoming season, which is difficult. I didn't last year. I wanted to get acclimated, and I didn't work through the wrestling season, which just, as a 30-year-old woman, you're like, oh my God, not having any kind of income really is just stressing me out like crazy. Like I was fine financially, but still just the fact that I wasn't working really got to me. So there's that. It costs a lot of money to fly out there. And then the hard part though, which is why like I say yes, but when it comes down to it, it's really difficult to go from wrestling directly into a gi tournament. And my coach is not really fond of people just doing the big tournaments. He really feels like you should be competing as much as possible leading up to those tournaments. And wrestling season ends like in the springtime. So, it's a winter sport, but I just don't know how much time I'll have to really prep for it. It kind of like I was surprised at how quickly it was coming this year, and like COVID obviously ruined that. It was canceled, but I'm gonna try to, but it's difficult to get to those tournaments.
So when you train in the gym, so you lift weights and stuff like that, do you use that as like are you mindful of wrestling and jiu-jitsu and stuff when you go train? Because obviously if you're going to
Absolutely.
it's not ideal to go and roll.
No, yeah. So I've never been a lifter. I've lifted in my life, of course, but I've never been somebody that's done it consistently. I've never done it on my own. I still am learning a lot about form and technique for all of it. So I don't even feel comfortable lifting on my own yet because it's so easy to hurt your body. And I'm in this for longevity. I need my body to go the distance. But with wrestling, there are mandatory lifts. So we have to lift at least 2 to 3 times a week while we're in school, while we're in season. And that's really where I started lifting more consistently. And a lot of it is for injury prevention, to be honest. There's a lot of muscles that you do utilize on the mats, but there's so many that you don't, like all those little muscles. And, not taking care of your full body just opens you up to more injury. And lifting is also used for rehab and stuff like that. And honestly, like I'm one of those people, I was like really strong and it got me really frustrated that I started lifting. I was like, I know I can lift heavier than this. Why can I not do that? And that's when one of my friends was like, you really need to work on your technique. So I started doing that this summer. And I've started to make some progress, which I'm really excited about. But I'm not doing like all these crazy different lifts. Like right now I'm focused on deadlifts and squats and a few other like things for my shoulders. And all of it is for wrestling and jiu-jitsu. Like I've never been much of a lifter, but I'm doing it for the sport. I'm trying to take care of my body, strengthen what I can, and prevent injury as much as possible. That, and now it's starting to get fun, and I just really want to see how much weight I can pick up off the ground and put down. So
that's the competitiveness in you.
Yeah.
I just want to lift some more. Let's go heavier and heavier and heavier.
Yeah, I deadlifted 205 yesterday, and my form was honestly kind of, and my partner was like, "You want to go down?" And I was like, "No, I'm already here. I just made it. We're not going below." I had to bite the bullet on that one and had to drop down to 95 because I was like, my form's not good enough. Let's not destroy my low back. And but yeah, no, it's I'm definitely starting to feel that competitive little itch with it, at least with myself. Like I don't plan on competing in any kind of lifting competition, but competing with myself, yes, for sure, that's begun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm the same because in the sense of that wanting to lift more and more and more. But there was one time where I was in the gym and a friend of mine was doing deadlifts and he had 200 kilos because obviously I know over there it's pounds, isn't it? So he had 200 kilos on a bar and he was doing a few reps and he was like, "Mate, you can't lift this," and I wasn't even warm or anything, right? So I walk up, I was like, "This bar is coming off the fucking ground." Like mindset switched on. So I get the bar, I struggle like anything. Like I'm pulling, the poo face. I'm like, I get it up, right? I hold it at the top. I come back down. Worst thing I ever done, right? Fucking my back. I was injured. I ripped myself off for like a month. Like I went and laid
No,
down. I went and laid down at the back of the gym. I was just like,
why did I
"You
do
all
this to
right?"
my?
And I'm like, "Yeah, I got the weight off. That's all that mattered. I don't care how injured I am now. I lifted it."
So yeah, that's like I feel like that's when I started training. Like I was just always like as hard as possible every single day. Like when I was a white belt, I was doing 3 a days and stuff like that. And like I'm finally at that point where I've really just maybe it's my advanced age. I don't know, or but I finally like got myself to calm down and had that talk with myself. Like Emma, this is the only body you've got. You're getting older. Take care of yourself. Like training is more than just going as hard as possible in the gym. Like you've got to take care of everything. So that's where I had to like bite the bullet. And I feel like sometimes like it's killing my competitive nature, even though it's not. But I was like yesterday, I was like, Emma, drop the weight down, work on your form. Your technique needs to be like there before you can lift heavier. And it's hard because it feels like you're pulling yourself back, but really you're taking a step back to take 5 steps forward. Um, yeah, it's hard though because you just want to lift that weight off the ground.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Do you work on mobility at all, like
Yes.
lifting and shoulder movements and stuff like that? Because obviously with what you're
I
doing, you need to be quite mobile.
definitely do. Not as much as my athletic trainer would like me to. I try to do stuff 3 days a week, or 3 days, 3 times a day, every day, especially for my shoulders. I think that you could probably talk to any wrestler and ask them, "How are your shoulders?" And they'll be like, "Oh, they're still working," or not actually. I'm always trying to do stuff for my shoulders. I've dislocated this one. So I kind of have recurring issues because it happened when I was either a white belt or a new blue belt, and I just never took care of it. And now, if I don't do the mobility stuff, if I'm not stretching, if I'm not working, doing the rehab or injury prevention, I notice a huge difference in how I'm training, my recovery, how terrible my body feels after practice. So yeah, I definitely try to spend time doing that every day, rolling out my body, doing the right stretches, doing the right little strength movements. With rehab, we work with a lot with dumbbells at lower weights. And right now, I specifically have been working on shoulder mobility at the beginning of quarantine, and then actually now I've switched my focus per my athletic trainer to stability. So mobility was a big thing for a minute for me, but now I'm working on stability for a few things. So mainly shoulders, hips, neck, like all the things. Basically, my whole body is shot, so I've got to work on it everywhere. That's what my chiropractor told me to.
For both of us. It's the same for all of us, honestly. We're all fucked somehow.
Yep. I've
So,
posted a few things
sorry.
about shoulder mobility, but yeah. Oh no, go ahead. You
No,
like
no, go
yeah.
on, go on,
By the
go.
way, that out there because.
No, 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 go, go, go. I want to know.
No, 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 no. You're good. Go ahead.
You said you've posted some stuff about shoulder mobility.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say like I posted some of the exercises, but I generally feel like my viewership is not really there for videos like that. So I just don't like post that sort of content. I thought about it, but I feel like people can look that crap up on YouTube. I don't know.
No, you should still do it if you're passionate about it, right?
Yeah, people do ask me about it. Sometimes I'll get some messages, especially from older athletes, which I actually really do enjoy those messages. You know, they're like, "Hey, like, I'm an older athlete too, and I'm having this sort of issue. How do you, deal with this and that?" Which is really cool. I wish I was better at checking my messages. I get a lot of just junk messages from like, I can't tell you how many messages just say, "Hey." Like, okay, not going to answer those. So just filtering through is tough, but I really like getting messages from people asking about running or what I do for recovery, stuff like that. One person was not even like accustomed to icing themselves after running all the time or training. And this guy's like, I can't remember how old he was, but I think he was in his late 30s or early 40s. And I'm like, you should for sure be icing your stuff after you train, dude. So I do like that stuff. And so that's why occasionally I will post stuff about mobility or whatever. But for the most part, it's been kept to a minimum this summer. So
What do you do, like nutrition-wise, to help sort of supplement your training as well? Because obviously, we're talking about the training aspect. What about nutritionally, fueling yourself and looking
So
after as well?
yeah, that's a really I like that question a lot, and that's something again like I've been trying different things with my body. Right now, I'm actually eating way more meat, and I've added more carbs to my diet. When I first started, I ate a very clean diet with not limited meat. It was still high protein, high fat, but I focused more on my veggie intake, and I tried to really keep a varied diet. Um, but that was also when I was competing at lightweight, and I found that that was necessary for my body in particular to try and eat, uh, as many vegan meals as possible. I would eat basically vegan throughout the day and would, eat meat at night, and that really helped me keep my body fat down, my weight down. My walking weight was ridiculously close to my competition weight for jujitsu. But I found that I compete better. I stress less when I'm super focused on staying at lightweight. And my coach told me he thought that I would compete better at middleweight. So, that allowed me to, explore a little bit more with my diet just because I wasn't like, okay, I know this works. I've got to stick with it. I was like, okay, I've got a little bit of room for leeway here. And I started experimenting more, especially during wrestling. When I started wrestling, I honestly was not concerned at all about my calories. There was times I was, oh my God, I hope my coach doesn't listen to this. There were many days I was eating like 4,000 calories a day. But I've got 2-hour practices, lifts, 2 to 3 times a week, and I'm running at least 4 miles every single day. Like I was using all of those calories. And I was living with a 21-year-old, my roommate Bree, wonderful, amazing human being, and we were just like, our synergy was great. We were going to yoga, running together, doing all the things together, and I started, just watching how this 21-year-old ate. I still eat really clean, but like I started like going out more and like getting tacos on the weekends, going getting some pho or whatnot, and after we weigh in for wrestling, we're eating like turkey and ham sandwiches, and I kind of lost my fear of carbs during wrestling, which I kind of thought it would be the opposite. That I would be more afraid of, like what I'm eating because we have to worry about our weight so much. But it actually did the opposite. I was like, I am this lean, my body fat is this low, and I'm still eating crazy sandwiches. I think I'll be okay eating bread. So since then, I've realized I've been able to incorporate more carbs into my diet and switch my mindset up to, really, like we can say I'm fueling myself for real, but like I really was able to change that mindset where I'm like, I'm fueling my body for this performance-based sport later on. So I do need to eat carbs, during the day. I do need to add that stuff in more. And now, just because my roommates are basically carnivores too, I've been eating a lot more meat, and I'm really curious to see how that changes my body, especially now that I'm powerlifting. My AT told me not to run so much to try and bulk a little over the summer. So I really just try to focus on eating good quality meat, the right kind of carbs. I still try to get the whole grains in, and still need to get my veggies in. But honestly, I've just been eating a lot of protein and fat, and it's been delicious. So I hope it does well for my body because I like eating this way. So we'll see. But yeah, again, it's one of those things that's just changed a whole lot. Like I experiment. I think everybody is different. You got to find what works for your body. So I think it's good to really try and evolve with your diet and just, you got to play around. It's trial and error, see what works for your body. So we'll see.
So if you could be a professional athlete in any sport in the world, what would it be? That's a random question for you that I'm throwing in.
Jiu-jitsu. For sure, jiu-jitsu and wrestling. That would be pretty dope. But other than that,
honestly, make.
Yeah. Ooh. Though, I mean, if we're talking money, it's a little bit different for women. Honestly, I feel like this is going to piss a lot of people off, but I would totally be in the WWE, man. That would be super cool. I would love to be one of those female wrestlers. Like, that would be fun. I feel like I like to entertain people. I like to wrestle. They do some crazy, like, there are still crazy athletes that do some awesome stuff with their bodies. Like, yeah, that'd be fun. I'd do that.
There you go. See, I bet you didn't know that you would do that before I asked you that question.
Well, no, there have been a few times where I've seen it on TV. I'm like, that looks kind of fun. I could do that. But now I'm going to think about it a little bit more seriously. Maybe that's like what I'll do, like when I realize that I'm just not going to win anything in jiu-jitsu.
I'm sure you'll win plenty more. Honestly, you'll be fine. And wrestling as well. You smash that as well. No doubt. That'll be.
I hope so. I really do.
So yeah, basically that's it from me in the sense of questions. What I like to do is kind of give you a couple of minutes to advertise yourself, shout out anyone you want. The floor is yours, basically.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess I should thank my sponsors. uh, well, yeah. Well, one of my favorite. I do want to shout out Ever Legendary. She's my no-gi sponsor and does all my crop tops. Really awesome brand. It's great for women. They also have men's stuff. Good for no-gi. Their spats are phenomenal. Love them. Other than that, I wasn't prepared for this.
Where can they find you if they want to contact you?
Instagram. But honestly, this is going to sound horrible. The comments are always the best. I get a lot of ridiculous messages. I struggle to open my inbox most of the time. I don't, even unless I'm expecting something, or I just happen to see one of somebody I'm actually speak to has written me across the top of my screen, which doesn't happen often. Comments. If you comment something, I will probably see it and I will get back to you. I'll probably message you myself. Emailing on my Instagram page. If you just hit the email link, it'll shoot it to my jiu-jitsu email. I'll get that. That's comments and email is the best. And if you're one of my friends, text me. Please don't call me. I don't want to that.
No creepy weirdos either,
No, that's the worst. I sometimes I really wonder what goes on in guys' heads when they send me these messages. I'm like, you really? But yeah, please messages. I'm not going to. I don't know. I'm not going to develop a relationship with you when you're across the world. I can. Yeah, it's. I get some weird messages.
Those guys are like, I'll pay you £500 for your feet. show me.
Yeah, well, if they were paying me that much, I'd be like, hey.
But it's been a pleasure to chat with you. I'll talk to you off camera for a couple of minutes anyways, but you've done well, smashed it, and I really appreciate your time.
No, thank you. I appreciate you having me here too. It's been a joy.
wrap it up there then.